Whoa, we tried to do it again. We tried to start the music again. I love a little orchestra music occasionally. I like to go to the symphony occasionally. I don't know what you're like. I will enjoy the Super Bowl show coming up here in a couple of weeks, and I enjoy a little hip hop. I enjoy a little Taylor Swift. I enjoy a lot of music. But sometimes we have this thing here in Indianapolis called Symphony on the Prairie. It's this Connor Prairie, which is this history park, and they have this wonderful prairie, and this Indianapolis Symphony goes and plays music. And I love watching that because when you go there, you realize you could go and if you just heard the trumpets, that would be okay. If you just heard the cellos, that would be okay. But when you hear it all together, it works. And sometimes our sales process is like this. As a paymentpreneur, as a sales professional, you need to realize that you can't just play one part. Maybe you're really good at cold leads and turning them into warm leads and turning them into making sure that you move down the funnel and you give them a proposal and then you onboard them and then you ask them for referrals. Maybe one of those areas you're really good at, but you forget some of the others. And you need to blend all that together. Each day, each week, each month, we must be dedicated to nurturing various sections. This involves composing new melodies by prospecting for leads, carefully cultivating existing relationships tended to a delicate instrument. You can tell I wrote this in a little AI, checking in with current customers to ensure their continued harmony, and finally requesting referrals, which add new movements to the growing composition. Devoting time to these elements provides a continuous and vibrant pipeline flow. And today on Office Hours, I'm going to bring Jenny and I together, and we are going to talk and brainstorm ideas on how you can do all these things, how you can nurture leads, develop leads, how you can work with your own partners. But first, let me talk about the person on the right-hand side of your screen. Suddenly, the screen got much better looking. Jenny Rickle, how are things in Glenwood Springs, Colorado? I hope maybe you're starting to get a little warm up, but I know that you're continuing to knock it out of the park. How are things, Jenny?
They're doing fantastic. It is so nice. We got some sunshine and some warmth, right? Everybody's starting to warm up. Spring is getting close. January is almost over. I think that this has seriously been the longest month ever. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for February 1st. So getting excited for what's to come.
We are 2 days away from February 1st. We are through this month. Saturday comes and we can just turn the page. And that's when 2025 really starts. Though, let's be honest, you guys are knocking it out of the park. I mention this often when I talk to you personally or a lot of times on our shows. We get these reports every morning. And when they're green, that means we're beating the year over year. And we have been green every day for the most part this year, minus, like the first, which always, it is always when the first and second appear in the year. But as I get the report this morning, I open it up and it's green all the way down from everything we're doing. And that is because of you guys. And that's what we want to talk about, is making sure that we're continuing to grow. Because I think what happens a lot of times, Jenny, you have been training a lot of partners for a lot of years now, and you've been in this industry for longer than any of us. I think what happens a lot of times, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, and you're welcome to disagree, that a lot of our partners become really good at one part of maybe finding new leads and getting referrals, or they're really good at onboarding and they forget to actually go and get more leads. And so they focus, there's a funnel and there's a pipeline that you're growing, and they only focus on one section a little more than others. Is that something you found? And I think it's different sections for different people. What do you find for our partners that you're training? Do they tend to resonate with one section of the whole pipeline?
Absolutely. Yep. And it's easy to do because it's nice to get to do what you're best at, right? So you find something that you're really thriving at and you just want to continue with that. But then you also still can't forget all the other pieces that are there, right? One of my mantras for this year of 2025 being the new year is just because you have movement doesn't make progress, right? So just because you're doing something over and over again in one category, it doesn't mean that you're building your portfolio. It doesn't mean that you're growing your business. So you really have to make sure that even though it's fantastic to really shine a light on what you're really great at and really let that be what your main jam is, to also really keep a light on all the other things too that will really make your business and you yourself as a sales partner thrive all together.
Okay, I want to bring back, that was amazing because we didn't prepare that. Restate that again. Even though you have movement doesn't mean you have progress. I love that.
Yeah, movement isn't progress. And I think about that a lot. I run on a treadmill a lot, you guys, in the winter. So I'm running in place a lot. So I have this thought, you need to make sure that you're moving forward and that you're going somewhere with what you're doing and your objectives and your goals, for sure.
I love that. And that's so much what happens, I think, we have a lot of partners, and you guys are wonderful and we love you, but we see your frustration. You become flash in the pan, and you may have 10 relationships that you turned into 7 new merchants, and you signed them up and you got the bonuses and you got the residual going. But then you get down and you're like, man, I can't find anybody else. And what happens is a lot of times you jumped into the middle of the funnel and you're really good at the proposal and getting the sign, but you're not good at the cold leads and turning cold leads into something that you can turn into a proposal and turning it into a decision and making them sign up and all those things. So we're going to brainstorm a little bit and just kind of share some of our experiences, but mostly it's from hearing you guys as partners. We're the voice, we're listening to you, we're hearing what you're doing, and we're going to talk just a little bit about each of these areas and focus that, hey, you got to make sure you're always working on each one of these areas to do it. So it starts with finding leads, and we have so many different ways, and I'll let you go first and I'll pick up the back end. So many different ways that we have partners finding leads. We have call centers, we have people that go door to door, we have all kinds. What are some of the ways that people are finding these leads, finding the people to get to the next step where they're getting a meeting and a proposal? What are some things you're hearing as they're starting at the top of the funnel, top of the pipeline?
Really, I hear about going to their local area, right? So, a lot of people just checking out community is a lot in this industry. I really can't stress that enough. Community and networking. So, really checking out the local businesses and becoming part of your community. And then you become the credit card person, right? The credit card guy, the credit card girl. They get to know you. And then it just spreads like wildfire because when there's a new business or somebody's like, hey, what are you doing? My bill costs a lot. What's your people talk. Everybody talks. I would also show up in a lot of smaller communities and things like that. There's networking for businesses, for smaller businesses, women in network, people in business. Like, make yourself present in these types of situations. Let your face be known. Get yourself out there. It's a really, really going to be strong strategy to get people to go ahead and come seek you out instead of you knocking on doors and doing cold calls, which is fantastic, right, as you get started. But before you know it, as you start to build your reputation and your networking, people will be seeking you out and say, hey, can I get on your list? Can I start using your services? So it's really, really a great way to start.
I like that. I mean, what I find from a lot of our partners, we have those who start as call centers, so they just buy huge lists and just call into every business in the United States. That is one way to do it. But eventually, I was talking to a call center. They've been in existence for over 20 years, and they said, we've called every business in the United States 3 times over. Eventually, you have to come up with other things. So my tip is when you're at the top of the funnel, the top of the pipeline, and we're going to say this is the percussion system. This is the drum beat that drives all things. You got to make sure you're always meeting new business owners, new merchants, new people that you can connect with. You've got to have multiple ways to do it. So you're going to not only build and walk into a community, and that'll work really well for a while, but start doing other things on the side. So maybe, I'm helping Jeff, who's one of our partners. I'm meeting with him later today. He's trying something new. He's trying cold email outreach. We don't know if it's going to work out, but he's just going to try it. And it should be that side hustle, that side gig. It's not a new industry, but it's a new way to develop the leads at the top. Maybe you're going to do Facebook messaging. Maybe you're going to do, maybe you've grown to a place where you want to pay for Google ads and Facebook ads. And these are things that we're here to help you think through, but you've got to be doing multiple things. We have really good partners. You join like a BNI. I think 4 years ago, or right after COVID, actually, because it started on Zoom during COVID, I joined a BNI just to learn what that was like for our partners. And some of our partners do so well in those networking groups, those BNIs, those neighborhood groups, those community groups, Chamber of Commerce, and jumping in and being part of that. And we see that, and you just got to be constantly doing something new. So if you have something that's really working, that's awesome. Pour gasoline on it. And at the same time, make sure you're trying 1, 2, 3 other things to start brainstorming those ideas. Maybe it's that you're going to niche down and get really focused just on dental, or you're going to get just focused on lawyers, or you're just going to focus on restaurants and POS, and you're going to learn cluster POS or quick POS really, really well. And you're going to make sure that you are then meeting you're going to be part of the restaurant association. Anything you can do, there's multiple ways that you can do that to be able to turn and build relationships with people, turn those leads that are cold into warm leads that turn into meetings that turn into proposals and decisions. Jenny, as we kind of walk down the funnel, we see what percentage, it's not going to be accurate, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, but you meet with a good portion of our partners. What percentage of them do in-person sales and for their meetings and closings versus doing virtual where they're getting on the phone or doing Zooms or Google Meets or something like that? What percentage do you think it is?
A little over half. I would say like 60 to 70, right? And just to kind of go on that, and I love that. Like, try something new, right? So, in person is fantastic, especially with our online app. Just a little, highlight there as well. In person, you can do it right there with your little laptop or maybe your phone, but in-person meetings are fantastic. But also, if you're going to do emails and cold calls, have that available to you. Can I send you a link? Can we get this going? So we have a lot of tools and resources for you as well when you're trying to get these leads and getting people to come sign on with us. Like, I can send you something right now and we can get this going. So I'll also utilize that. We have those kinds of options for you guys too.
I like that a lot. I mean, and we're always just trying to make it help you diversify, to grow your business, to do things differently. And as you continue to do that, you've got to continue to nurture, because what's going to happen is you're going to get successful. You're going to grow that pipeline. You're going to see whether, the other person I saw, a person that had a 12-step pipeline, 12 steps. It was like a recovery group that they were trying to do. And they were like moving each person through. And I was like, wow, that's pretty blasted amazing that you're doing that. But
Yeah.
you've got to learn also that it may stop working at some point. So you've got to keep trying some things, and you want to do that before you get to the point where you're like, man, I used to do 10 deals a month and now I'm doing 3 and the system's not working. You got to have things that you're trying on the other side. Part of that also, though, is caring as you're growing that portfolio. And we talk about this, an essential part of your pipeline and making sure you're playing all the instruments in the orchestra is that you're taking care of your current merchants and you're checking in and you're making sure that they're okay. And I separate this between two, but this is another part, is asking them for referrals. But you don't ask for the referrals until you make sure they're okay, because they're not going to give you the referral if they're frustrated, and creating a regular motion. What do you see of our partners? What are your ideas that people of how they remember to check in with their merchants? We have lots of individual things in here. What are some brainstorming unique things that you hear that they're constantly checking in with their merchants, making sure everything's okay?
Well, and something that comes right off to the mind, because we right to the mind, is because we just did the holiday specials a while
Yep.
back. Is, gosh, those gift cards, those loyalty programs, checking in, going in and making a purchase. What if they're like a retail location, and then just a phone call. Also, just check out your payments hub portfolio to check in activity. Right, making sure they're doing well. Celebrate small successes. Maybe they've been with you a month. Maybe they hit a certain mark. Just using, like, again, everything that's available to you to be able to reach out, pick up the phone, maybe have an in-person visit, and really just make sure that the business is happy with your services, right? A lot of businesses, the last thing they want to think about is their credit card machine, because it's working fantastic and it doesn't give them any problems. And that's what we're here for. So always check in.
Always checking in. And then you get to that point where you're asking for that referral and you're saying, hey, I want you, I love what you're doing. I would love it if you have any connections to other businesses. Do you have any of those? And you can do this both through a personal way, but there's also automated ways you do it. Maybe where you're sending an email once a month to your merchants, just saying, hey, if you have any referrals, and I always encourage, reward them in somewhat. And I don't know what that is for you. Everybody's a little different. Some reward in a monetary way, a physical way. Hey, if you do this, I'll do that, quid pro pro type things. But make sure that you're always asking for that referral, and it's part of your regular work and pipeline that you're doing. So you're not just focusing on the top of the pipeline and getting new leads and new opportunities, but you're nurturing those current merchants that you currently have to be able to build upon the relationships they have. I think that certainly is an important part of making sure that that sales cycle, you're looking at the big picture of it. And we have lots of content out here where we've been talking about the little bit individual pieces of that. But today we're just saying, hey, make sure you're playing all the instruments. This is so important. And every once in a while, take a look back and make sure you're doing that. One of the things I think um, is, Jenny, a lot of our partners do different ways to do proposals. We have some merchants that are partners that, they hand like a major PDF to it, or some of them just use our spreadsheet that we give on statement analysis, or some go to the edge proposal that we've put together that you can just do and put together online. What are some ways that people are doing proposals, and what have you learned from some of our partners as they're getting to that point and making sure that not only are they getting leads, they're building relationships, but they're actually giving proposals and making decisions? Are there unique ways that you hear people of how they're putting proposals together?
The most unique way that I see is really utilizing it as a tool as a sales partner to gauge their rates, what they can place for a rate versus what their profitability margins are going to be. right? So I actually had somebody take an existing merchant that was already with us, and a competitor was trying to say that they could lower their rates. So they used our team, and we just went ahead and said, okay, this is how we can match that. So that's a great tool to utilize for existing merchants. And for new merchants, show them, give a breakdown. Our analysis team is such a fantastic resource as well. myppt.com. You can go ahead and just submit a statement online. We also have the ability just to do a quick statement, a very overview analysis. So you can just give somebody a quick overview of what they would look like if they did Edge. It's specific towards Edge. So there's a lot of answers to that question, Nate. But I would say the neatest way that I see partners using it is really to say, okay, how can I still be competitive? What can I make your rates? But how can I still make a profitability? Don't get into that race to zero as you start to lower rates. Really make sure that you take a really close look at it and say, okay, making sure that we can save the merchant money and we can still be profitable. Win-win.
I forget who said it, but there's a sales guru, one of them I've read, and he says how you start a conversation is also how you finish a conversation. So if you start by entering a conversation by how much I can save you money, you're very likely going to have to end the conversation by saving them more money, which takes up revenue and margin. And so what I always encourage is you start at the top of the pipeline, you're just starting to engage with people, whether it's in person or through emails or through phone calls or however you're doing it. Start the conversation on other value adds that you're going to bring to their business, not just how you're going to save them money. And you'll be able to work together to come to a place where you have that triple win philosophy, where the merchant wins, where you win as a partner, and we always win when everything goes together. But if you start by just talking about how you're going to lower rates, you're totally right, Jenny. What's going to happen is that rate's going to go down. And then we get to the place where we were about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, where suddenly all of us were looking around and going, I have to sign up 600 accounts to make a living every month to do this. And now we can say, hey, let's all be fair. Let's all make it work together and make this business work all for us. What do you think is the most, and this is not a deep dive today, but Jenny, what's the most neglected as you look from moving from a cold lead all the way to an active merchant? What is the thing that our partners neglect the most? What do you, as a whole, and not every, that they forget to do? What's the thing they forget to do in nurturing that pipeline?
I would say the first follow up after they're activated, maybe 2 weeks or a month. I think that okay, you got them signed up, they're running, everything's going okay. So you move on and you get a new lead and you start going on, business as usual. But then make sure because within that 30 days, they're still testing the waters. They're still seeing it's almost like a probation period, right? There's if anything happens within that 30 days or those 60 days that they're unhappy with, there's a probability that they're going to go back to their old solution or find something else. So definitely have that follow up at least 2 weeks, 30 days after they're activated and making sure that they're okay.
I love it. And I think that finding those moments where you can make sure you check in. So many of our partners, you get to that first activation and those who are working with bonus IDs and working on bonus, you get that bonus and it suddenly shows up in your account and you're like, man, hey, we got somewhere. But you're not there yet. And in fact, this is a process and it never ends. And a lot of times we call it a funnel. So we feel like we get to an end of it and we're already at the bottom, but the process really is a continuing circle. And it's just, we're working to continually grow our business. And that's where we all grow the most. As we close out today, this has been a focus for all of us. Take a step back, look at the whole orchestra, say what pieces of the things am I not good at? And what I would encourage you to do is sit down with a piece of paper and write down what your current pipeline looks like, how you're finding your leads, how you're connecting with the merchants, how you're putting your proposals together, how you're getting closings, how you're setting up those relationships and check in the customer service, what those referrals are looking like, and how you're putting together. And then think of one new thing in each that you're going to try over this next year and say, I'm going to do it this or try this way. Don't stop doing it. If you have something that's working, don't stop doing it. That's not what we're saying, but realize that most pipelines don't work forever. You have to change something. You have to look backwards. All right. It is time for our closing word. It is the last office hours. We should say, I didn't mention it on the front end. Mike's not with us today because he's a little under the weather. So we hope he feels better. Several of our staff are under the weather as we fight through this January. That's why we're done with January. We're already looking to February. Jenny, what do you say for our partners as we close out this year and get to the 1st of February? Or not close out this year. We're just saying February 1st. It's the first month of 2025. January's over.
I'll take
We're
it.
ready to move on.
Right.
What do you say to our partners, Jenny?
You guys just really take advantage of new year, new opportunities, and really focusing on new ways, right? It's not going to hurt anything if you try something new and really strengthen your what you're good at as well. So take the time to try something new, do some research, see what's going to be the best for your business. We got a whole year ahead of us. We got some time to do great things. Thanks so much for everybody. It's going to be a great February. I'm excited.
It is. We're here to help any way you want to. Make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube. Make sure you reach out to partners at PayProTec.com or Jenny or any of our team. We're here to help any way we can. Thank you for being part of PPT Nation. We'll see you next time. Way to go, everybody.
Hi, guys.